What's up, you guys? I'm Hieratics here to bring you guys the next episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Yu-Gi-Oh! And yes, we are going to do it on Hieratics. Now, a lot of people are wondering, why would we do one on a deck that a lot of people don't really even talk about? Well, that's just it, you guys. I recently have been researching Hieratics just for the fact that it was a deck that got a lot of hype. When the deck was first announced, a lot of people were like, this is going to be the deck that's going to bust Yu-Gi-Oh! This is going to be the deck that OTKs your ass and you're not going to be able to do anything. The release of Card D was going to make the deck absolutely just like Tier 1, Tier 0, all this stuff that they say about pretty much every deck that comes out, and of course nothing happened. The deck did well in the OCG when it was released, and a lot of people were just not sure how it was going to do out here. Back then, Red MD was at 3, so the deck had like all of this like beat stick ability. Red MD could be abused through a tomb and all this other stuff. Now, a lot of people are still wondering, why is the deck even worth mentioning? Well, here's this thing that I've noticed. Hieratics is one of those decks that you don't see coming. It's a deck that you'll go through 9 rounds at a Regionals or a YCS to make it to Day 2, and you'll probably play your share of Water, Rabbit, Inzectors, Dark World, etc., Heroes, and so on and so forth. But then you'll come up against Hieratics, and you'll be like, what am I supposed to do? If your deck's not maining cards like Maxi or Effect Veiler, this deck's just going to pretty much just shit on you. Because I've played against Hieratics before, and it was a complete uphill battle even when I was running Rabbit. I didn't open Rabbit or Tour Guide. I had to somehow keep my vanillas alive, which is damn near impossible. They pack lances, you pack lances. It's very hard to get over their monsters. If you look at this, a lot of their monsters come out at a big attack. Sue is absolutely ridiculous, and literally you have a very hard time getting around this deck. Now, not only that, the deck did top 4 one of the recent YCSs. I believe the player was Parker Robinson or something like that. I apologize if I got the name wrong. He explained the deck in its entirety, and this is his deck list that I used as my blueprint. I personally are trying to test this deck. I have to pick up 2 bouncers in order to do it, but the deck is very interesting, and I think what makes the deck interesting is that, like I said, if you don't have optimal back row or hand traps, you're going to have a very hard time against this deck. When they're able to normal summon cards like you normal summon Esset, Tribute Sue, and then you get all these gnarly effects that start going off. You can start off with Tefnuit, make a Sue, and you get more effects off, and it's just ridiculous. Busting out Red MD and comboing with Birdman. Birdman is, I think, one of the best cards in the deck. You bounce back Red MD, you make your Atomb, you then can banish, get Red MD out, use its effect. You can use Red MD's effects twice in a turn. It's absolutely just mind-boggling how much damage you can get on the board so quickly. And not only that, they do pack Maxi themselves, so if you try to go off, you could give them a Tragodia that's bigger than life itself, and it's absolutely ridiculous when you think about it. They don't really run a lot of back row. The guy that top 4 decided to run 2 Compulse, which I think is just a really good card because you can comp their monster, OTK, you're dead, stuff like that. And I feel this deck is very underrated. I think the fact that it's kind of like Chaos Dragons, but I would say maybe a little more explosive for the fact that you are trying to OTK the majority of the time. Granted, you are trying to do that in Chaos Dragons, but you have the safe play of Light Pulsar Dragon while having Red MD in the grave, etc. This deck, on the other hand, goes into Photon Strike Bouncer, it goes into a Tomb, it overlays into Gaia Charger, and it just wants to OTK the hell out of you. And I feel that that's what this deck does best, and that if you are not prepared, you're going to have a very hard match against this deck. Now, people say that the deck is not as good as I might be saying it is. Now, I can fully understand that. I can understand that decks like Water, decks like Rabbit, decks like Dark World, if they get rolling really quickly, this deck might have a uphill battle itself. But I think outside of that, I think the deck's very solid. Now, what I think's also good about it is that you get all these gnarly effects when you tribute monsters. I mean, that's so cool. Like, to me, I just find that very cool. They're like a different form of monarchs. They're weaker, but they produce so much spammage of monsters that once a tomb gets on the board, if a tomb goes off, like, you're really in a good position. Getting your monsters out, bouncing back Red MD, reusing Red MD, you have all these busted plays you can do. And I think cards like Exabeetle and Photon Strike Bouncer are just MVPs in this deck. When you've used your Exabeetle, you go into Gaia Charger for piercing damage, OTK damage. It's absolutely amazing. So that's what I think was good about it. It's beat sticks, it's unexpected, and if you don't know how to play against them, you're going to have a very unfun time is the best way I can say it. Now, what's bad about them? I would say what's bad about them is that sometimes you can open kind of, I don't know what the word would be, haphazardly, and you can open with bad hands where you draw the vanillas. You run only 2 vanillas, so if you do draw them, they are quite hard to get on the field unless you tribute. But honestly, why would you want to tribute for a Wattail or a Luster Dragon when in reality you want to tribute for a Sue or a Nebthed or whatever it is? And I feel that that's the one thing that the deck could lose to, is drawing really weird hands where you draw the vanillas, you don't draw your optimal monsters. That's one thing that could hurt the deck. I think Max C also hurts the deck. While they do run it themselves, I feel Max C hurts them more because Hieratics are not a deck that are really known to stop. Like if you tribute to special summon and they, if you special summon a Tefnuit and you start doing your effects with a Tomb, they're going to drop Maxi, they're going to draw a shit ton of cards. You yourself could run into a Tragodia and you could have not a fun time. And that's the thing, is that the deck can lose to hand traps. The deck can get overpowered by decks like Agents that run Hyperion that completely can just wreck this deck. I think Chaos Dragons have a decent match against this deck as well. I think the deck's good, but I feel that there are other decks that can give it a hard time. I think Dark World could hurt the deck if they're able to establish control with Grapha. They're able to get rid of. They're not really able to deck dev that much stuff, but aside from that, they're able to hurt other decks in general, and I feel that that can be like one of the deciding factors. I think that the deck is still good. Don't get me wrong. I need to test the deck myself to see what its flaws are and other things, but I feel that the deck overall is very solid. I really like the deck for the fact that you really do protect yourself with Forbidden Lance, you get rid of backers with MST, and your main goal is just to OTK. The beauty of this deck, I think, is what's the Yu-Gi-Oh part about this, is you can Photon Strike Bouncer your way out of a Gores, out of a Tragodia, etc., and I feel that that's what's really busted, that you can just get out of these situations that most decks cannot. So that's what I think is what's good about it, what's bad about it, and the Yu-Gi-Oh part about it is that it's not expected. I think it's surprise factor is what makes it busted, and I think that that's what will give this deck the advantage in certain events. But let me know what you guys think below. I wanted to make this video. People were requesting Hieratics. I had to do research on them. I actually do have them built in real life, card for card, just like this. Just working on getting my double bouncers. They're getting reprinted, but I want originals, so gotta look for those. I already got my Atombs and I got my Gaia Chargers, but I think the deck has a lot of potential. I think it just needs to be piloted correctly like it was when Parker top forward, so I feel that the deck does have potential in the future. But comment below with your thoughts, thumbs up the video. In the next episode, I'm going to try to do on Prophecy, Spellbook, whatever you want to call it. I have absolutely no idea what that deck does. I have to do research. I have to come up with a build, and I have to just do my research on the combos and what makes the deck good, bad, and all that stuff. I already know Thunder King wrecks that deck, but other than that, I think that deck's going to be very interesting to talk about. But just comment below with your thoughts, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thumbs it up, and thank you for watching.